Hello and welcome to episode 214 of the Heart of Markness Led Zeppelin podcast. I am Mark. I am tired and I have allergies. I almost didn't do this. In fact, I decided not to, then I got up and did it. You hear that all the time. There's a lot of times where I'm like, I don't want to do this because I never want to do it. But I do it and it's always good. And it's good for me and hopefully good for you too. If you're listening, ought to be good. Hope it's good. Is it good? Is it good for you too? We have today our show, June 17th, 1980. The tour opener for the Led Zeppelin tour over Europe. The lamentably last Led Zeppelin tour. This is a tour that is fairly maligned. It's also a tour that had the first big leak of soundboard tapes back in like 1989, 1990. The first CD bootlegs were coming around, and they all kind of seemed to be of this tour, soundboards of this tour, from tapes that were stolen from Jimmy's house by a house guest of Jimmy or a trusted member of Jimmy's circle, which is shitty and makes me feel bad, because, I mean, these tapes are important. They're his. But I'm also glad I get to hear them. But it's shitty. Don't steal from Jimmy Page. Make copies, give the tapes back. Come on, have class. But their felony is our fortune. Because we have tapes for almost all of this tour. And the soundboard tapes do the band no favors. Dry, flat, effectless. In fact, I never really got into this tour, appreciated much of this tour, until I started hearing some audience recordings from it, and some tasteful remasters and matrices and things. This is just a nice remastered soundboard with the audience tape used for a patch, Winston remaster of the show opener, June 17th, 1980. It was a new Led Zeppelin that was hitting the road in 1980. They had been pretty much out of the game since late July 1977 when the U.S. tour ended. And, when the tour ended because Robert Plant's son suddenly, fell ill and unfortunately passed on while Robert was in the United States. Which, I mean, trauma upon trauma upon trauma for that poor man. But, so Zeppelin were on hiatus for a good 18 months. And for all intents and purposes, Robert had left the band. But he got called back in by Bonzo, and they got together in May of 1978 in Clarewell Castle in Wales, I believe. Just to fuck around, just to see if there was anything there. And there was. They came up with Carousel Umbra. They jammed on some other stuff. And lo and behold, there was a band. So they recorded In Through the Outdoor. And then it was time to bring up the tender subject of getting back on the road. And this is the point at which Robert Plant gained the upper hand in the band. It had up until that point, and it was still in many ways, Jimmy Page's band. Jimmy was the boss, and everybody else, it was Jimmy's band. Even in, I saw a clip of Jimmy and Ahmet Ertegun talking right around, maybe 2000, 2003-ish. And Ahmet said that. He's like, Zeppelin was your band. We all knew that. Everybody knew that Zeppelin is your band. But Robert came back. Robert was by far Jonesy was too, the most functional member of the band. Jimmy and Bonzo were mired in the quicksand of overindulgence and hard addiction. Bonzo had his farm and his family and his hometown, so he was still at least grounded in his old life. Jimmy was just kind of rattling around his enormous houses, having a hard time with his demons. Robert came back and was like, okay, if we're going to do this, if I'm going back on the road, here's how it's going to be. I'm not leaving my family for months at a time anymore. Ever. Fuck that. So, they moved from a touring model to a more let's do large shows model, and people will come to us. Kind of like what the Rolling Stones are doing now. Because they're all legitimately old men. They're in their late 70s. Charlie's already dead. Rest in peace, Charlie. And, these guys pushing 80. You don't want to be on the road all the time. Takes a lot out of you. And, you want to be around those you love. Because, TikTok, right? So, large festivals. Nebworth in 1979. Hundreds of thousands of people came to see them. And then in 1980, it's like, well, we have to go on the road. So it was going to be shorter tours. And back home a lot more and a lot quicker. So Robert signed on with that. And another thing was enough with the ridiculous overindulgence to the point of parody. Enough with the 30-minute songs. Enough with the 30-minute noise solos. Enough with the 30-minute drum solo. Punk rock came, new wave had arrived, and punk and new wave were much bigger in the UK than they were in the United States. They came by and they were popular bands, and it was like, that's the new music, but it didn't replace rock and roll as much as it seemed to do in the UK. So they're hitting the road in Europe. Europe is a warm-up for the United States tour, like they always did, like they did in 73 and 72, etc. And they opened in Dortmund. Did they open, or is that the second of the... let me take a look. I don't remember now. No, I thought they opened in Belgium. I don't know, man. June 17th. I've got the book here. I'll look it up. June 17th, 1980. They did a much shorter set list. Truncated. They called it Cutting the Waffle. They just did a whole bunch of really cool shit. And tightened things up. No big, long, indulgent solos. None of that just deep and mysterious. Rock and roll. They're coming out, and they're trying to recapture, like they did 10 years prior, 11 years prior, when they were young and hungry. And to a point, they succeeded. They're not in the best shape here, but they were pulling it together, and there were moments of a lot of fun and some really enjoyable shows, especially when you can get them remastered by Winston Remastered, or a nice Weed Whacker Matrix that brings in some of that audience ambiance. So it's cool. Let's jump in. Here is the set list. The set lists were pretty static on this tour. Not a lot of variety. We've got opens with, like they did in 1969, Train Kept a Rollin', into Nobody's Fault But Mine, into Black Dog, which is typically introduced by Jimmy for the first time. In the Evening, The Rain Song, Hot Dog, All of My Love, Trampled Underfoot, Since I've Been Loving You, Achilles' Last Stand, White Summer, Black Mountainside, Kashmir, Stairway, Rock and Roll, and Whole Lotta Love. They would do Communication Breakdown now and again, but and Heartbreaker. Did they do Heartbreaker here? I think they did. I think they're doing Heartbreaker in the middle of Whole Lotta Love here. So a lot more clockwork, a lot more mechanical. You have to look to find the magic, but it's still there at times. Not a great point in the band's history, but they were trying. They were trying. They were united in their goal to pull it together and carry on. Unfortunately, that all fell apart. But we have the recordings, and let's listen to one. Let's listen to a kick-ass Nobody's Fault But Mine. And they cut out the 90 seconds of and go right into the song. Waffle is cut. Enjoy.
Nobody's fault but mine. Gonna be talking to road. I'm gonna be talking to road, yeah. I'm rolling down the night. It's nobody's fault but mine. Nobody's fault but mine. She told me the road. I put on the top of the road. I roll that long line. It's nobody's fault but mine. Oh, Jimmy! Oh, Jimmy!
Tour opener, or close to it. Shit, I didn't look it up. You could tell they were a little unsteady on some parts, but that was not a case of, oh my god, Zeppelin sucks, they're so wasted. As much as it's the beginning of the tour, they haven't gotten everything down yet. Let's see. Opened in Cologne, and then Belgium, and then the Netherlands, and Bremen, and Hanover. I don't know. Why can't I find this? Huh. Did you not mention that, Louis Ray? Oh, 17th, Dortmund, Germany. Okay. Yeah, it is a tour opener. I didn't lie to you. Why would I lie to you? I would never lie to you. There it is. All right. Bam. Yep. That's why. Tour opener. They're getting the let out. Ha 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 ha. That must have been exciting to listen to. Me flipping through a book. Yes. The tour opener. They missed a couple of cues. They're working things out, but it was still tight enough for this guy. And it wasn't a matter of them being wasted or loopy, just tour opener, man. Next is a song that I love on the 1980 tour. It is Trampled Underfoot. I don't really think there are any real bad performances of this on this tour. There are just good ones and great ones. And this is a pretty good one. Ladies and gentlemen, Trampled Underfoot. Dortmund, 1980, June 17th, 43 years ago. God damn, the band broke up 43 years ago. What are we doing? All right, enjoy.
Called Trampled Underfoot. Jesus took down by the blue light tree. That's the way all the road. Mama, let me go. Talk about love. Talk about love. Never mind the things I could have. Mama, let me hold your hands. Mama, let me do your. Talk about love. John Paul Jones on piano. And Jimmy Page on guitar.
Always a winner. Oh my goodness, I am so tired. Slow going tonight, guys. Sorry. Low energy one. It's just been a long week. Everything is so fine. Excuse me. And I cannot wait for the weekend. And I will do a classic rock episode this weekend. And maybe even another Zeppelin one. Who knows? Hope to have some energy. Spring has sprung. And so have the allergies. Ugh. But whatever. Just listen to every other episode from this time of year. And you'll know. My allergies suck. Tomorrow. All right, this is brought to you courtesy of the Titans upon whose shoulders rests this humble yet mighty podcast. I mean, of course, the patrons. So a shout out and a Laurel and Hardy handshake go out to Keith and Tilda, Brian, Matt and Cecilia, Steve, Big Ed, Kenny. Hope you're enjoying Scotland, my friend. John from West Footscray, Picard. Scrolling. Knegarn. Rob from Melbourne, Australia, Wayne, Brad, Danielle, Tracy, who I did not see last weekend because my kid's glasses broke, and I spent Saturday at LensCrafters instead. Other David, Bonzo Billy, and Mimo. Thank you for being my friends. Oh my God, I'm tired. You can find me on Twitter and Facebook under the name Heart of Markness, and you can find these shows, including this one, at heartofmarkness.com, where you can download that whole concert. And if it's not there, and it's still within a few hours of my podcast being posted, give it a day. I'll have it up tomorrow, because I don't know if I'm going to get it up tonight. Baby, I am a sleepy boy, and as soon as I get this uploaded, I'm going to bed, because it's 9 p.m. So, one last song for you, but it's actually a couple. It is the Encore, Whole Lotta Love, with a Heartbreaker sandwich. What's he mean by that? Well, let's find out.
Give you my love. Good night. Dinosaurs rule.
Well, I wouldn't go so far as to say dinosaurs rule, but I will go so far as to say dinosaurs gave it the old college try. And since they hadn't been on the road for the prior 2.5 years, then, they got to work and get tight again as a band. And that's all that is. I think it was a fine tour opener, actually. For what it was, it's grading it on the curve, but it's not a train wreck. And there were some legitimate fun shows. Cologne's a fun show the night after this, I think. Yeah, there are some good ones. And, oh shit, what's the 5th? July 5th. Munich, July 5th is a fun one. And that's where there is fun. So, if you listen through the 80 tour, there are moments it does start to get more cohesive and start to gel. But, sadly, it was not to be. Well, thank you for listening. I am sleepy, as I said. Sorry for the low energy effort. This is all the energy I have to give tonight. So, please be good to yourselves and each other, and I will be back this weekend with a classic rock episode. Maybe another Led Zeppelin one, maybe not. But I already have next week's planned and downloaded, and it's going to be a fun one, and a good one, and a good fun one. All right, adios. Be good to yourselves and each other.